Good morning, endurance friends. Matt Mosman, the endurance guru over at EndurElite, coming at you with our second live broadcast. Now, I'm shooting from home today. It's been a little bit snowy in Spearfish, South Dakota the last couple days. Been getting about 6 to 10 inches of snow each day. It's been cold out. It's been like 0 degrees and it's just been freezing. But you're not really here to learn about the weather. We're here to give you some good endurance information today. So we pulled the EndurElite group the other day, and we asked them what kind of questions they would want to learn about, or just anything endurance related, training, nutrition, and supplementation. And the few things that came up is one individual, Tuki Garcia, wanted to discuss muscle cramping during endurance exercise, specifically what causes it and strategies to prevent cramping from happening, which is a big issue in endurance sports. I mean, you all know that cramping can totally derail a race and just destroy months and months of hard work. It just literally sucks. So we're going to talk about cramping real quick. We're going to talk about PerformElite, the best way to use it a little bit, and then we'll open it up for a Q&A. If you guys have any questions you want answered about anything endurance, you just fire away. So let's discuss cramping. There's really nobody knows exactly what causes cramping, like the exact reason. If somebody tells you that they do know, it's total BS basically. But there's about 3 proposed theories of what causes cramping, and the one you all are probably most familiar with is that cramping is caused by dehydration and an electrolyte balance. Now, the theory goes that you start exercising, your electrolyte balances or your water to electrolyte balances of the body get kind of offset, and this causes spontaneous muscle discharges that causes the cramp. But the fact is, there is really just anecdotal research on this. There's really no hardcore evidence that suggests dehydration and electrolyte imbalances have anything to do with cramping. And several other research studies have demonstrated this too. So it's pretty unlikely that cramping is caused by this dehydration and electrolyte imbalance, but you still can't rule it out. I mean, it's a possibility. So that's the first proposed mechanism of cramping. The second proposed mechanism, and this one is probably the most supported in the scientific community right now, is that cramping is caused by altered neuromuscular control. Now that sounds overly complicated, but kind of what they say is when you exercise and the muscles start to get fatigued, this causes an increase in muscle spindle activity and a decrease in Golgi tendon activity. And what the Golgi tendon does is kind of a protective mechanism that if you're pushing too hard, it's gonna stop things before you hurt your muscles. So this increase in muscle spindle activity and decrease in Golgi tendon activity basically causes the motor neurons in the spinal cord to overfire a little bit and keep on sending impulses to the muscles that help them, or that just basically cause them to cramp up. And there's been a lot of studies that have actually supported this theory, and at this point it seems the most likely cause of muscle cramping. So that's the second proposed theory of muscle cramping. The third is that cramping is caused by the rise in muscle acidity as you exercise. So when you exercise, longer or hard, or you're racing, one of the causes of fatigue, a lot of scientists think, is that the breakdown of substrates or carbohydrates through various energy systems leads to an accumulation of hydrogen ion accumulation, which this causes an increase in muscle acidity. And then your body's like, man, this really hurts. I gotta shut this down. And they think that rise in muscle acidity sends a signal to the body that causes the muscles to cramp and to basically just say, it's time to stop. But again, that one's it could be likely, but it's probably not the main cause of cramping. I'd go back to the second proposed theory of the altered neuromuscular control. So those are the 3 proposed mechanisms of cramping. Again, that second one's probably the most reasonable to rely on right now. So how do you prevent cramping? The first one is, absolutely hydrate before you go out. You can eat a diet high in carbohydrates if you want to. But again, I really don't think that dehydration electrolyte theory is accurate. I mean, look at all these people who start a race and they're cramping within the first minute. They might come in hydrated. So are you going to tell me that, they're dehydrated in that first minute and there's a huge electrolyte balance where it causes that cramping? I really don't think so. So, yeah, definitely hydrate. It's a smart thing to do. It can lead to improved performance. Electrolytes can help with the fluid balance in the body, and that's all good and whatnot. The second thing you can do to prevent cramps, and this is probably the best one, is you want to train like you're gonna race. And I'm gonna liken to this. Like last year, I hopped on the bike and was training really hard, but I was just doing long, slow, easy miles. And I got into a race and just hit it hard from the start. I was cramping like a beast about 30 minutes into the ride. But it's because, I didn't train appropriately for the race. So my body is like, what the hell is going on? We're not used to this. And that more than likely altered neuromuscular control and led to the cramping. So you want to train specifically how you're going to race so your body's not surprised when you do race. The third thing I would do as an endurance athlete to help minimize cramping is to, hop in the gym 2 or 3 times a week. I know it's a pain in the ass as an endurance athlete. A lot of the times the last thing you want to do is go into a gym and lift weights. I'm right there with you, but it has so many benefits in terms of improving muscular power, strength, and endurance. And most importantly for cramping, stronger muscles are less fatigable. And we all know, or just what I talked about, when muscles fatigue, that can kind of lead to the muscle cramping. And the last thing you can do is you can try a few supplements that can maybe minimize cramping. And there's some research behind it, and I think it's worth a try if you're really having issues with cramping. One, I would start with doing magnesium every night before you go to bed, about 400 to 500 milligrams. So that's the first one I would do. Second one I would do is beta-alanine at 3.2 grams a day. Now, beta-alanine is a muscle acidity buffer. When you consume beta-alanine, it's converted to carnosine in the body. And as muscle acidity starts to rise, carnosine kind of buffers that and keeps it in check. And it's really helpful for short but intense efforts, like when you're racing or doing an interval workout. The third thing you can do is you could try sodium bicarbonate or just plain old baking soda. Some people have had a lot of luck with this. And if you want to try this, you want to stick with about 0.9 grams per pound of body weight. If you go any higher than that, you might get explosive diarrhea, and you probably don't want to do that during a race. So something I would definitely recommend trying in training before you incorporate it in racing and whatnot. And the fourth one, which somebody mentioned, actually a guy named Tukey, he said, I had a lot of luck with pickle juice, which, yeah, that sounds really weird, but there's actually a research study on pickle juice and cramping that if you get a cramp and you take pickle juice, it's about, I forget what the statistic is, but cramping, but from the time you drink it to the time the cramp stops, it's about 49 seconds, which is pretty significant. So maybe you start just carrying around a thing of pickle juice all the time when you're racing or training. But it's a really weird mechanism how that works. It's kind of like that hot shot anti-cramping thing they have out there, where somehow by drinking, like with the pickle juice, it's the vinegar. With the hot shot, it's almost like a wasabi. You drink that, and that somehow overrides these nerve impulses and decreases the cramping. So there's 4 strategies you might be able to incorporate from a supplement perspective that can help you with cramping. So that's cramping. Let's move on to the next thing. Let's talk about our pre-workout PerformElite a little bit more. So I've been getting a lot of questions about, what's the best way to take it? Can I take a second dose? Why do I feel so awesome when I start out? And we'll talk about a few other things. So with PerformElite, the first thing you want to do when you get it is you want to shake it up really, really good. And this will just ensure the proper mixture of ingredients, as some are a little more denser than others. So, if you don't do that, you could be getting, 400 milligrams of caffeine, which could be awesome, but not the best thing. So shake it up before you take it. Take 1 scoop out, Mix it in about 8 to 16 ounces of water, depending on how you like the flavor intensity or the sweetness of it, and drink it for about 30 minutes before exercise, and you're good to go. Now, if you're going on a longer ride or a run or, a race or anything like that, when is it safe to take a second dose of the PerformElite? And this will really depend on the individual person, their metabolism, their sex and genetics, and how fast some of these ingredients are being metabolized in the body. But I would recommend, if you want to do a second scoop of PerformElite on a longer workout or race, that you look at doing it about 4 to 6 hours after your first scoop. And the only thing you could really go overboard on is the caffeine in PerformElite. So with each serving of PerformElite, you have about 250 milligrams of caffeine. And the half-life of caffeine, or the time, from the original dose you take till it's about half that amount in the system. So if you start with 15 milligrams, half-life would be about 100 milligrams still left in the bloodstream after about 4 to 6 hours. Upper safe tolerable limits of caffeine is about 1,000 milligrams a day. The rest of the ingredients in PerformElite, like I said, you really can't go overboard on. And if you were doing, like, at the most extreme, like a 24-hour event, you could look at doing 3 to 4 scoops of PerformElite if you really wanted to keep energy levels up, to keep focus up, and things of that nature. So the second question, or another question I always get on PerformElite, is like, why do I feel so freaking good, like, right off the bat? Usually it takes me 2 to 3 miles to warm up. Why do I feel so good off the bat after I take PerformElite? And that's really coming from the choline and the huperzine found in the PerformElite, and maybe a little bit of the caffeine as well. And basically, it's what choline and huperzine and caffeine do is they give you a cognitive or an nootropic benefit. So it literally makes you feel in your head like you're ready to go and to hit it hard. So those would probably be the 3 main ingredients in the PerformElite that make you feel really good off the bat. PerformElite, another question I get is all the ingredients in PerformElite WADA compliant. Yes, there's nothing illegal in PerformElite that you would have to be worrying about if you take it before a race, in the small chance that you get drug tested afterwards. The only thing you're going to be pissing hot for is pure excellence, quite honestly. So nothing to worry about there. So that did about PerformElite. Any questions so far? I'm going to kind of open it up a little bit if you want to fire away some questions. Otherwise, I'm going to talk a little bit about EndurElite as the company here in a second. Okay, so no questions so far. That's all right. So I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent here about just a conversation I had the other day with somebody. Let's see, Cycle Matt. Hi, Cycle Matt. Any discount code for us to give this a shot? Great info, dude. Yeah, absolutely. If you go to the website right now, there'll be a pop-up that says get 10% off. The code is take10off, and that will be, you can plug that into the checkout system. That'll take 10% off. And then I always offer free shipping too, so that's a little bit of a benefit there. We also have a really cool rewards program too, where if you like us on Facebook or share a post or refer a friend, you get points, and then those points can be applied towards money off your product. So I hope that answers your question, Cycle Matt. So any other questions? And I'll kind of keep on looking at the comments as I go on with this information. So let's go back to this conversation that I had the other day. Johnny Jackwad, marketer, contacted me. He's like, Matt, your videos are great, the information is great, but you really need to push your product hard in your videos. And I'm going to tell you all right now, that's not what EndurElite is about. EndurElite was created, believe it or not, just to provide awesome endurance-related content. Me and my partner really never had the intentions of making a supplement line off of EndurElite, but I mean that's my background. I worked in the supplement industry for all the big boys for 15 years, so I definitely had the background. But I was more concerned about bringing good information to endurance athletes. So back to the thing, this marketer's like, you really need to push your products in your videos. I'm like, dude, obviously you don't understand what EndurElite's about. So I'm going to be here to tell you right now, I'm never going to push my products in your face and say, you absolutely need to take my supplement. It's going to take like 10 minutes off your run or bike time. I mean, that's total bullshit. And that's things, most supplement companies will tell you that you absolutely need their product. You can't live without it. Like, I'm never going to tell you that. I mean, it's a bunch of crap, honestly. You guys are all informed consumers, and I think, our products speak for themselves. So if you want to learn more about them, check them out. Do the research for yourself. Make a decision for yourself. Like I said, I just have no desire to push a product in your face. I mean, absolutely dial in your nutrition and training and get that perfected. And then if you want to try supplements after that, I mean, go for it. And try some things. If you like it and it helps your training, great. If not, you tried, and that's fine. And that's why EndurElite offers a 30-day back money guarantee. So if you were to try, say for example, the PerformElite pre-workout, and you absolutely hate it, it doesn't do anything for you. Not that I think it won't. I think it'll work, fantastic for a lot of people. But if for some reason you don't like the product, you contact me directly and say, Matt, the PerformElite really didn't do anything for me. Can I have my money back? And I'll be like, absolutely. Hey, you tried it. You gave it a fair shot. And I'm not going to tell you that every single supplement is going to work for everybody, because again, that's total BS. Will it work for the majority of people? Yeah, it probably will. Will it work for everybody? No. I mean, non-responders to supplements is a thing. Like, for example, the caffeine found in PerformElite, like some people won't even respond to caffeine. In fact, it'll put them to sleep. So again, with EndurElite and any of our products, that money back guarantee is there for you, just to give you assurance that if a supplement doesn't work for you, it's okay. It's not a big deal. I'm not going to be butthurt about it or anything. Going back to another point, a lot of people will say, maximize your diet and training first. And I absolutely agree with that for the most part. But there are things like, like creatine, for example, can benefit an endurance athlete. And unfortunately, you'd have to eat about 20 steaks to get an efficacious amount of creatine, where you could take a scoop of creatine, 2 to 5 grams, to get the same benefits. By all means, if you want to go to a Brazilian steakhouse and eat 20 steaks, that's awesome. But that's one scenario where I can see, like, where you could get a benefit from a supplement that you can't get from a diet. Caffeine on the same token too. I think, even if you have your diet and training nailed, or even if you don't, caffeine can provide a big ergogenic benefit. You can get your caffeine from coffee. That's fine. That's fine. But caffeine anhydrous in supplement form has been shown to be more effective than, the caffeine found in coffee. And I don't really know the reasons why, and I don't think anybody does at this point. But that's two circumstances where I could see where a supplement would work, pretty good, even if your diet and training isn't totally dialed in. So that's a little bit about EndurElite. Any other questions right now? I'm trying to think what else I can tell you about. I can tell you a little bit about why EndurElite was created and what makes it so different. We can kind of go that route if you like. But any questions? Not at all. Okay. So let's tell you why EndurElite was created here real quick. So EndurElite was created because I saw a lack of serious innovation within the endurance supplement market. Like, there's a lot of good endurance supplement companies out there, but most of their stuff revolves around carbs, which is awesome. Like, hands down, carbs are the most effective supplement for improving endurance performance, hands down, more than anything else. And obviously, you can get through the diet. So you see the sports drinks, you see the bars, you see the gummies. Things of that nature. But beyond that, you really don't see a lot of innovative supplements that you can take before a workout or during or after that could possibly improve endurance performance. So with my background in the supplement industry, I wanted to bring a whole nother level of innovation to the market, and that's what led to the PerformElite. Now, there are other pre-workouts that came before PerformElite that some endurance supplement companies, put out, and I'm not going to name names because I'm not like that. I'm not going to badmouth anybody. But if you compare PerformElite head to head with any other so-called endurance pre-workout, you're going to notice a lot of different things. You're going to notice, like, and not just with PerformElite, with a lot of our products, you're going to notice, the ingredients we used are all backed by a ton of clinical research. We're not just like throwing shit in the product and selling it to you, after we like looked at a rat study and think it's going to be applicable to human performance. So every single ingredient in like PerformElite has a ton of research behind it. So that's priority number one at EndurElite. We're not going to make a product that isn't demonstrated by research to not improve performance. I have no interest in offering anybody a watered down, product that's just basically a bunch of crap that's not going to do any good for you. I mean, it's ridiculous. I would never do that. The second thing you always notice about EndurElite products is we use efficacious dosing. Now, what's efficacious dosing? That means like you could have like an ingredient like beta-alanine in a product. It's research proven, but what a lot of companies will do is they'll stick such a little amount in there that it's not going to do jack squat. So with like beta-alanine, you want at least 3.2 grams daily to get a benefit. But if you look at all these other endurance pre-workouts, you'll notice like 250 to 500 milligrams, which, I'm sorry, that is going to be used by the body and, for things besides exercise, and it's not going to do, it's not going to do anything, unfortunately. So you'll notice that in all EndurElite products. And then the third, you're going to see that every EndurElite product has a fully transparent label. There are no proprietary blends or anything like that. So if you go to like a local GNC and you pick up a product, you might like look at the back and you'll see like something called the Ultimate Energy Blend, and you'll notice about 20 like different ingredients in there, and then you'll notice like a total amount on the right hand side. So let's just say for this Ultimate Energy Blend, they have 20,000 milligrams in there, and then they have all these ingredients listed underneath that. But the thing is, like with a proprietary blend, the amount looks good, but you don't know the dosages of each ingredient you're getting in there. So literally, like what a lot of companies will do is they'll put that cheap ingredient in there first, and they'll put 19,000 milligrams in there of that first ingredient, which is dirt cheap, and then they'll add these other 19 in such minute amounts that it's not going to make a difference. So that's really the third thing about EndurElite. We'll never do proprietary blends. You'll know what you're always getting. Hi, Katie. Let's answer Katie's question here. Do you recommend using EndurElite before every workout or just before races? Would you worry that supplementation for every workout could prevent long-term adaptations that you would want to build up? This is a really good question, and we need to talk about this. So it's not such a straightforward answer. Honestly, would I take EndurElite, PerformElite every day? Yes and no, and I know that doesn't help your answer probably. Yes, because some of the ingredients in EndurElite, PerformElite work better the longer you take them. For example, beta-alanine is one of those, and beetroot powders have that. So with like the beetroot powder, you have the immediate acute effects, but as you take it every day, you get more chronic effects. So I would take it every day, unless you're building up a tolerance to it, which is, and when I say tolerance, I'm talking about the tolerance as it relates to caffeine. So some people will build up a tolerance to caffeine and others won't. So if you take, PerformElite for 2 weeks straight and you're feeling awesome, you're crushing every workout and things like that, and all of a sudden you kind of see like the benefits going down a little bit, then it might be time to stop taking it for about 3 to 5 days and to build your tolerance back up and then start taking it again. So I hope that answers your question. If you don't take it every day, I would definitely take it before harder workouts and races. There's more to your question, I think, here. Let's see, could prevent long-term adaptations that you could want to build up over time without an ergogenic. So what are these long-term adaptations that you would want to build up over time without an ergogenic, Katie? And while I wait for your response, let's talk about the caffeine and PerformElite a little bit too. So a lot of endurance athletes think caffeine is bad for endurance athletes, but it is absolutely not. So the whole caffeine and dehydration thing is a total myth that's based on a 1970 study that had a research give caffeine with, I think it was like 16 ounces of water, and they noticed a higher urine output. Well, duh. If you're going to drink 16 ounces of water, you're going to piss more. But like future or studies that have been conducted further show no association between caffeine and dehydration. Like muscle remodeling. How so, Katie? I don't think I'm getting the essence of your question here. Hey, Dustin, how are you? So while we wait for Katie's question here, the other thing is, a lot of endurance athletes will get caught up in is caffeine will cause your heart rate to explode during endurance exercise, which again is a complete myth. Actually, caffeine can decrease heart rate surprisingly during submaximal exercise. So, probably between that 70 to 80% of maximal heart rate, it can actually bring it down a little bit. So to reiterate my point, caffeine is not going to dehydrate you, and caffeine is not going to cause your heart to explode during endurance exercise. And I know that's probably goes against everything you've ever heard from any other like endurance supplement company, that caffeine is a horrible stimulant that has no place in an endurance athlete's regimen. But I would challenge any of those people to show me any other supplement that increases performance more than caffeine. I mean, there's literally thousands of studies out there showing that caffeine improves endurance performance without any negative side effects. And I mean, the upper safe limit of caffeine is right around like 1,000 milligrams a day. So I mean, you would really have to take a lot of PerformElite and a lot of coffee to get up to that amount. But I'm running out of stuff to talk about. Does anybody else have any questions? We can talk about, if you want, we can talk about our sports drink that we have coming out. I can talk about our recovery product coming out. Let's see. Okay, Katie, let me answer this question. Autocorrect. Darn autocorrect. If EndurElite prevents muscle soreness and fatigue, wouldn't you want to increase tolerance to fatigue? That's a good question. Increase in tolerance to fatigue. I don't know, like, I'm gonna have to look into this one a little more, Katie, and I get what you're talking about a little bit. But I think, like, if you're putting in the proper training, you're already increasing your tolerance to fatigue. And then with the muscle soreness, are you talking about more the PerformElite or the Cramping, or what are we talking about here? But like, I think if you're putting in the training, you're gonna build up that resistance to fatigue pretty easily. Now, I'm going to go back to my point. Is the supplement absolutely necessary? No, absolutely not. Can you get as good at performance without supplements? Yeah, probably, but they will give you a competitive advantage. Or they could, I should say. But let me get back to you on that, Katie. I'll send you a direct message. Like I said, I get the essence of what you're talking about, but I don't want to give you a bad answer on that. So I'll get back to you with that. Dustin Smith asks, how many calories are in the sports drink? So the sports drink will have 30 grams of carbs, which equals 120 calories. So that'll be the number of the calories in the sports drink. And the way we design EndurElite that's coming out is, depending on like the duration and intensity of your exercise, you can mix 1 to 3 scoops in anywhere from about 18 to 30 ounces of water. And this will cover the needs of, somebody that's exercising underneath 2 hours. You probably want to go with 30 grams of carbs. When you get above that 2 hour mark, you might want to go to 60 grams of carbs an hour. And then when you go up to that ultra endurance phase, like 90 grams of carbs is really beneficial. And this is all backed by research. But here's the thing, like with the number of carbs you're taking and what makes EndurElite so different from other sports drinks out there. So a lot of sports drinks out there will use maltodextrin, which, inherently there's there's nothing terrible with maltodextrin. I mean, it's pretty good for, exercise lasting maybe 2 hours. But once you get above that, your gut actually uses different transporters to get carbohydrate to working muscles. So if you were just to like do pure maltodextrin, and especially as exercise duration goes over that 2 hour mark, you may notice a lot of gut distress because your body can't absorb that many carbs from that one single source. So that's why SustainElite contains 5 different carb sources. We'll have highly branched cyclic dextrin in there. We'll have fructose. We'll have cane sugar. We'll have a sweet potato powder, and we have a rice powder in there. So all those, first of all, digest at different rates. So you have, the fast sugars, the medium digesting cyclic dextrin, and then the slow digesting carbs, the brown rice powder, are in the sweet potato powder. So it's just basically sustained energy and all the different carbohydrates your body can absorb, so you can just keep on pushing longer and stronger with not getting like that gut discomfort. And then beyond that, the SustainElite is also going to contain quite a few amino acids. More specifically, they'll contain branched chain amino acids. Now, why would you want to put branched chain amino acids in a sports drink? Then that's a very good question. So branched chain amino acids can actually help, in a few different ways. They can blunt fatigue during endurance exercise. They compete with tryptophan in the body, which we all know tryptophan kind of makes you feel fatigue. So branched chain amino acids can, they can blunt fatigue. 2, if you're running really low on reserves and your carbohydrate or glucose is going down and your glycogen is getting tapped out, these BCAAs can actually be used for energy production. And then 3, the BCAAs in SustainElite can actually help prevent muscle protein breakdown, which is really important, especially as you're really exercising long. Muscle protein breakdown can lead to muscle fatigue a little bit quicker. So that's why we put the electrolytes in the SustainElite as well. And then we ended it with a nice electrolyte blend. Now, we didn't put the electrolytes in there to help with, cramping, because I really don't think electrolytes have anything to do with cramping in the majority of the population. We put in electrolytes in there just to help with fluid balance in the body, and more than anything. You always hear of like hyponatremia, people drinking way too much fluid and it gets their electrolyte imbalances out of whack. And that's why we really put the electrolytes in there. So yeah, SustainElite, it's honestly, it's really going to be a game changer. It's not like anything you have seen before. I mean, if you want to check it out, go to our blog. It's at www.EndurElite.com. And my partner and the chief science officer over at EndurElite, Jordan Joy, wrote an awesome article on how we made SustainElite and why it's head above heels better than anything else there. And he put a nice, really comparison chart in there, stacking our SustainElite sports drink up against all the names you're probably familiar with. And I'm not gonna like badmouth these other companies. Just go to the blog and look at it yourself and make an informed decision. Do the research yourself. But I think you're gonna find like it's gonna blow your socks off. And to boot, it's the same price as these other things and so much better. Dustin, awesome. I like to use liquid calories for the most part. All-in-one drink will definitely cut down mixing times at aid stations. Yeah, I'm the same way. Like when I'm training or racing, like regardless of the distance, it's so much easier for me to just like drink liquid calories and get everything I need, as opposed to messing around with gels and gummies and other sorts of food. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with that. Like if you like it, that's fine. But like on a mountain bike, man, if you ever tried to like slam a chew while you're racing, it's a colossal pain in the ass. And like I said, with the SustainElite, regardless of the duration, you can mix like up to 3 scoops in there, and that will get you at the 90 grams of carbs an hour that you can need. Like especially with a guy like you, Dustin, you're an ultra endurance athlete. That's going to be a huge benefit. And something like that, speaking of, the amount of carb sources, there's a whole new body of research coming out. OCR athletes need gels, please. Katie, I might actually have something even better from the gel, better than a gel coming down the line, but there is a gel possibly coming out here pretty soon. But I am in the works right now of developing almost, and don't you tell anybody about this, I don't want anybody stealing my idea, of a carbohydrate patch coming out. So how cool would that be? You just slap on the patch, you put over a waterproof barrier, and it's a sustained release of carbohydrates via a patch. A lot of work to still do on it, but it's in the works. But in the meantime, we probably will develop a gel here later down the line. So what this kind of looks like as far as product development for EndurElite right now is, obviously we have PerformElite. SustainElite will be coming out here in about 2 more weeks. We'll have a recovery product coming out in probably another 3 to 4 months. And I'll get back to you, Dustin, about training the gut here in a second. We have the RecoverElite coming out. And then beyond that, what we're probably going to do is we're going to release a joint product. We're going to probably release a protein. We're going to release a sleep aid. We may do an electrolyte solely drink. I know a lot of people like the Hammer Fizz and things like that. So we'll do that. And then beyond that, we'll just kind of see what the consumer wants. And as more research comes out, we'll definitely start to look at these ingredients and do the research and, develop products based off that, because that's what we do at EndurElite. We look at the research and we put stuff in the product that works, which is, unlike 99% of the supplement industry that just is run by a bunch of marketing guys and be like, hey, look at this rat just ran faster on a little wheel and we're going to throw this shit in here now. Like I said before, we're never going to do that. So that's kind of what we're looking at on product development with EndurElite. But back to you, Dustin. With the ultra endurance athlete, there's a whole new body of research coming out about training the gut, which a lot of you know, if you slam like a lot of food or drink or stuff like that during a race, it can cause a lot of discomfort and whatnot, and it can derail your races pretty quick. Especially if you're like an ultra endurance guy like Dustin, who's running forever, and how you figure out how to eat them out and how your body can absorb that, and especially as you get above like that 60 grams of carbohydrate an hour, and then up to 90 grams, and then you throw in like fluid recommendations in there now. But I'm going to write an article. Well, actually, let's do that. We'll write an article, and we'll do a video series on training the gut, but basically it has you consuming X amount of carbohydrates throughout the day, and then consuming a large portion of those like during your training, so your body gets used to being able to digest and absorb those efficiently. So when you come to the race, your body's used to it, and you can tolerate like 90 grams of carbs an hour, which is a lot. That's somewhat 400 calories and an hour from carbohydrates on top of fluid, which as an endurance athlete, and depending on the race, you could be slamming anywhere from like 16 up to 36 ounces of water an hour when you're racing. But that brings up another good point that I get a lot of questions about, is like, when do I really need to drink a sports drink? When does it become necessary, or when do I need to drink a carbohydrate-based sports drink? And the real simple answer here is, if your exercise is going to last underneath an hour, you really don't need any kind of like carbohydrate or a sports drink or anything like that. You have enough muscle glycogen to get you through the entire race without having to refuel. And even if you did try to refuel, like if you wanted to eat carbs during an hour race or so, by the time it's digested and delivered to the muscles, your exercise would already be done. If you guys haven't checked out, I did actually a video on that the other day that was pretty cool, on a carb mouth rinse, and some pretty cool research there that showed like a carb mouth rinse, like exactly what it sounds like if you like take a sports drink and swish it around your mouth and spit it out. That actually can improve endurance performance a little bit during these shorter races. The study I quoted in that video was one with cyclists that did a 40K time trial until exhaustion. So they had two groups of cyclists, and one had this carbohydrate solution and the other was placebo. And they did the 40 kilometer time trial. And the group with the carbohydrate solution put it in their mouth, swished it around, spit it out. They did this about every 5 minutes. They didn't swallow it. And then you have obviously the placebo group over here swishing, who knows what in their mouth. But after the researchers crunched all their data, it showed that these cyclists that took this carbohydrate solution or rinsed it in their mouth were over an hour faster, which is I mean, that's significant. A minute faster in any race is pretty darn significant. So sorry to get off on a tangent there. I'm looking outside right now and it's really starting to dump snow, and the temperatures are getting really cold and I need to head out for my run, and I don't know how I'm going to do this. Probably put on the screw shoes here so I don't slip on my ass and break my hip, which any of you haven't seen yet, go over to the EndurElite blog and learn how to make the screw shoe. It's really a fancy piece of equipment that can save your butt on these icy and cold days. So unless anybody else has any questions, I'm gonna peace out for a bit and get a little bit of workout in. But if you enjoyed this video and you want information about anything I talked about, definitely head over to the EndurElite blog. It's www.endurelite.com, EndurElite.com. And this is like really the sole mission of EndurElite, honestly, is to bring you content in regards to anything endurance, training, nutrition related to make you an awesome endurance athlete. Like, you look around the internet, you're not going to find the quality of content that we have anywhere that has, the people that are writing it, myself and my partner, that have the experiences we have as research scientists and as myself, an endurance athlete. So definitely worth your time to go get lost on the EndurElite website, for a good 10, 15 minutes, 3 hours, whatever you think there. So that's about all I have for today. Again, if I'll wait here for about 10 seconds if you have any other questions you want to throw out. But also start thinking, if you guys want to know or talk about something next week that you're interested in, send me a direct message or post it on the EndurElite training and nutrition group, and we can discuss it. Next week, I'm also going to try to bring these video sessions on Saturdays so more people can see them. So it looks like no more questions. I hope you all have a great weekend. Get outside, get some biking or running, or, for you OCR people, go throw some spears or jump through fires. And then until next time, stay fueled, stay focused,